So we're basically trained. Some emotions are good and other ones are bad. You get rid of the bad ones and you're good to go, you're happy. The sad part is it doesn't work that way. The more you squish away the bad emotions, the more they end up hurting you and staying around longer. Today we're gonna go for a walk so we can sort through how you can relate to those, quote, bad ones a little differently and end up helping your brain and having better emotional energy. So let's go. So it's kind of a joke, and it's not actually a joke because I do it for real. But whenever I'm feeling down or off or weird, I take myself for a walk. And I basically go walking by myself and I say, "So what's up, Amy?" And it's really helpful. But today I am saying, "What's up, everybody?" Because we want to figure this thing out about those bad emotions or the experiences we have. And the strategy that most people use to deal with them, a very common one, is to squish them down. Avoid, avoid, avoid. So what do we do with that? We binge watch our favorite television show. We watch too many YouTube videos. We exercise a lot. We get really invested in work. We hide. We don't spend time with ourselves, but spend time in a different universe whenever possible. The common wisdom that I don't think is actually all that wise is that time heals all wounds. So if you do that, then as long as you wait long enough, it all goes away, right? The problem is that's not right. So in the last 20 or so years of my practice, I have seen hundreds, if not thousands of people come in. And a lot of these people are older adults going through the aging process. And they come in and they are talking about things that happened in their 20s and 40s and 60s that they're still thinking about, that still upsets them. Time did not heal all their wounds, unfortunately, and now they actually want to do something about it. You know, it happens in my own family. So I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and my father died. And when he died, there was this whole combination of how it happened and all the family dynamics, but also a financial issue of a decision that was made for one of my siblings. And in the end, there was so much strife and so much unhappiness that my mom and one of my brothers are now estranged. They don't talk anymore, and really the whole family is split. It sucks. And in the midst of all the horrible things that are related to that, one of them is that my mother does not see a way to work with her anger and her sadness and all of the feelings that she has. She basically says it's something that she just has to accept. And I'm pretty sure she plans on carrying it to her grave. But it's not just my family that it happens to. It happens to everybody. People that come in and they think they can just tuck things away, and those things keep coming up over and over again as incredibly stressful, disruptive parts of their lives. And sure, you can go to therapy. I think therapy is great. I advocate for it all the time. But there's other strategies as well, and that's what we're talking about today. So there was a social psychologist by the name of James Pennebaker, and he worked with people who had traumas or difficulties that they didn't disclose. And through a series of groundbreaking research studies by himself and his colleagues and other people that followed in this path, he came to the conclusion that undisclosed traumas or emotional experiences are really bad for you. And throughout his research, what he discovered was that sharing in some way is really powerful. Now, as a psychologist, he wasn't so sure he could just say, "Oh, tell everybody about all your problems." So he started with this idea of writing. He had people write at length about things that perhaps they've never told anybody about before. And they would write for maybe 15 minutes a day, every single day. What they found when they looked at all these different ways of expressing deep emotions through writing is that it made a difference. It made a difference in terms of your physical health, so that people went to the doctor less, their blood pressure went down, they were less stressed, they had less muscle tension, their immune system worked better, they were less stressed and anxious and depressed. their sleep got better. So all of these amazing things happened when people shared. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but one way that I practice this is through a form of writing called haiku. Haiku is a Japanese art form. It's a form of poetry, and it follows a specific structure. So the structure tends to be 3 lines, and they have a certain number of syllables. The first line has 5 syllables, second line has 7, and the third line has 5. 5, 7, 5. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and study haiku and you should become this amazing haiku artist and learn all the different ways and the rules and the structure and how you're supposed to interact with it. In fact, I don't do that myself. What I am saying is that you could use this art form as a way not only to have some personal creativity for yourself, but also as a way to process emotion. So I used this technique when my dad died. And the poignant or especially relevant aspect of my dad dying was that he died the day before I was supposed to give birth to my second child, my little boy. I knew I was going to give birth to him. I was scheduled to be induced that day. But what I didn't know was that my dad was going to die the day before. And when I found out about his death, it was really hard. It was really hard to hold on to those feelings of losing someone that I loved so dearly, while at the same time thinking about bringing this new, amazing, tiny little being into the world. I just couldn't conceptualize both. And so I used haiku. And so I'm going to share the haiku that I wrote as an example of how you can use this to process really hard emotion. So the haiku I wrote that day was, how do I break my heart and grow a new one in 24 hours? And those words, I mean, they're not fancy. Maybe they're not even that beautiful, although to me they are. But what they did was to let me express myself in a way that felt really meaningful. And when I shared it with myself, that was a really big deal. When I later shared it with specific people and then even communities of people, it helped me process the emotion that I had in a way that let me breathe and move on to have a baby and be joyful and make space for all those things I was experiencing. So I'm offering this to you, how to use haiku in your own life, so that you might have a model of yet another way to take those hard feelings or hard experiences or hard emotions and work with them differently, to not only have some form of creativity in your life, but to have neuroplasticity. I mean, this is brain health. Doing novel things, being creative, trying something new allows our neurons, our brain cells, to connect and grow and form in new and better ways. So there's a neuroplasticity component to this, but there's also an emotional processing and wellness component to this. And if this has helped you to be able to think about that in a new way or to inspire you to try something, please share it in the comments below. I'd love to see them. And think about coming back for the next installment of how do we take the science and do something that helps our brain and helps our life. All right, bye.